All right, let's get right into it. If you're a developer, you know the feeling all too well. You finally get comfortable with a framework and then, bam, a new major version drops and it feels like everything's changed. Honestly, keeping up can be a full-time job. But you know, every now and then, an update comes along that's a genuine game changer. So in the next 10 minutes, we're going to break down Next.js 16. We'll see what's new, what's different, and figure out if it's actually worth your time to upgrade.
I saw this on Reddit, and man, it just hits so close to home, right? It perfectly captures that update fatigue that so many of us feel. So why should you care about this update? Well, because Next.js 16 isn't just a simple version bump. It's a real shift in philosophy. In this explainer, we're going to cover exactly what's new, what might break in your existing projects, and most importantly, what it all means for you.
So what's the big idea with Next.js 16? It really boils down to two things: giving you raw, undeniable speed, and putting explicit control right back in your hands. This update isn't about adding a bunch of flashy new features. It's all about refining the core experience to make your workflow smoother and your code way more predictable.
All right, let's get to the good stuff. What are the biggest wins you get right out of the box with this upgrade? It all starts with performance and, thank goodness, a long-awaited fix to how caching works.
First up, the engine under the hood has been completely swapped out. TurboPack, that Rust-based bundler that's been in beta for a while, is now stable, and it's the default. This shows they're really serious about their Rust-based toolchain. It's replacing Webpack out of the box, and that means a massive boost in build speeds.
Now check this out, because these aren't just marketing numbers. These are real-world results from a team that migrated their website. Their production build time dropped from over 11 seconds down to just over 4. That's a 2.7 times improvement you are going to feel every single time you ship code. And in development, this means fast refresh is practically instant, which helps you stay in the zone.
The other huge improvement is caching. If you've ever pulled your hair out wondering what on earth Next.js is caching behind the scenes, you are definitely not alone. The old system was kind of a black box, but now with cache components, it's all opt-in. You just use the use cache directive to tell Next.js exactly what to cache. So instead of Next.js guessing, you can now explicitly say, hey, cache this data for 10 minutes. It gives you precise control and finally ends all that guesswork.
Okay, but it's not all rainbows and speed boosts, right? Like with any major update, upgrading an existing app means you're going to hit some sharp edges. Let's talk about the 3 biggest breaking changes you absolutely need to know about before you start.
First up, and this is a big one, you can no longer just directly access page props like params or search params. It's gone. You now have to treat them as promises and use async and await. Now, this change might seem annoying, but it forces a much clearer data flow. It makes it really explicit that you're dealing with data that has to be resolved before the page can render. And here's some good news. There's an automated code mod that can fix about 80% of these cases for you.
Now this one can be a silent killer. Because TurboPack is the new default, it will completely and silently ignore any custom Webpack configuration you have. So if you're using special loaders for SVGs or you have bundle analysis plugins, they'll just stop working, and you might not even notice until you push to production. The fix is to either refactor your build process or, if you need to, you can explicitly opt out by setting turbo.false in your config file.
And here's a quick but super important one. Support for Node.js 18 has been completely dropped. You have to make sure your development and deployment environments are running at least Node version 20.9.0 before you even think about starting this upgrade.
Okay, let's talk about middleware. There's been a ton of chatter about this online, a lot of confusion about it being deprecated. So let's just take a second to set the record straight on what's actually going on here.
This is the big question floating around on Reddit and X. Is this core feature being completely ripped out? Well, the short answer is no, but its role is definitely being clarified.
And this table here really breaks it down perfectly. It's not a removal, it's a rename. The file middleware.ts is being deprecated in favor of a new file called proxy.ts. So why the change? It's all about making its purpose crystal clear. This file is meant for proxy-like tasks right at the network edge. Things like redirects, rewrites, modifying headers, not for your complex business logic. For most of us, migrating is as simple as renaming the file.
So, with all these changes, the awesome speed boost and the kind of painful breaking changes, the million-dollar question is, should you upgrade now or should you wait? Let's break it down with a simple framework. Let's make this simple. Here's a quick way to figure out which camp you're in. If you're starting a brand new project, if slow builds are a real pain point for your team, or if your build setup is pretty straightforward, I'd say go for it. The benefits are immediate. But
If you have a really complex Webpack config, you deepen a feature launch, or your app is stable and fast enough already, hey, there's no harm in waiting a bit for the dust to settle.
All right, so if you've decided to go for it, don't just dive in head first. Here's a high-level plan to make the process feel a lot more manageable. Start with the automated stuff, like running the code mod. Then tackle the manual fixes for those async APIs and your build configs. And finally, and this is crucial, dedicate real time to testing everything.
So yeah, 4 hours. That's the number to keep in your head. Based on a real-world migration, this is not a 10-minute job. But for a lot of projects, it's a totally manageable half-day investment to get all the benefits we've been talking about.
You know, when you boil it all down, this update isn't just about faster numbers on a chart. The speed you get from TurboPack and the clarity from the new caching and async APIs, these are tools. They lead to a better developer experience, which in turn lets us build better, more reliable products, faster. It's all about removing that friction so we can focus on what actually matters.
So Next.js 16 offers a pretty compelling trade. A little bit of migration pain in exchange for a major boost in speed and clarity. But it really brings up a bigger question for all of us. In this crazy, fast-paced world of web development, our biggest challenge might not be just keeping up, but developing the wisdom to know when it's the right time for our project to make that leap.